welcome to the Q&A that I'm doing with Detta Manfred, or Dets, the author for Sansûkh. You're coming in on the middle of us talking about when Sansûkh was started. After this, the next episode will be chapter 11, and we'll be doing another Q&A after chapter 20, so get your questions in for chapters 11 to 20 as soon as you can.
Yeah, I want to have a see. So look on the AO3, chapter 1. When was it?
All right,
yeah,
lay it on me.
24th of June, 2013.
Crumbs.
And then you completed it on my birthday.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday, Battle Pig.
Yeah. Oh. So it was what? It was 8 years. Almost exactly 8 years.
Right, it's 2013. Oh. That's a long time ago.
Very long. Oh wow.
Yeah. So this story is a year older than my daughter. Almost exactly.
It seems like doesn't seem as long as it was that we started the pod thing. Well, that was 2015, wasn't it? It was only 2 years after you started writing it, but it felt like it was like.
Oh, I'm so stop-start when it comes to writing, though. I mean, it's the classic ADHD thing. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm so productive. I've written 70K in a week and a half, and then I'll do nothing. Nothing.
4 years.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. It's like, oh, where is my motivation? I believe I put it down in my other pants. Yes.
And then, like, I'll lose interest in one fandom that I'll have been writing for and get into another one, and I'm like, but I still like that one, but I've not got
like it
on it, so I can't do anything with writing for it. Yeah. Well, I wrote down all the questions, so I didn't. So
I am
searching for them in other places because I've got asked them in like multiple places. It's not that many. It's only like 2 sides.
I was about to say you got enough to fill 2 sides. That's wow.
It's only A5 though. It's not huge.
No, but there. Okay.
Well, let's start with Fishy's question.
Hi, Fish. I love you.
They said, "How are you so amazing?"
How are you so amazing, Fish? How is your face and your everything so amazing? Just saying. Oh, they are amazing.
Have you seen the art they put up for the appendices?
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
And they're saying that's volume 1, and I
don't have the money to buy more.
And I had a big you what? Anyway, yeah. So Fishy remains the wizard fish of my heart. Yeah. And I never, ever, ever, ever will get over. But they call themselves a 1-person PR team, and they're not wrong. Holy crap.
I know. And like the amount of stuff that they just like managed to just like pump out.
It's phenomenal.
You and me sitting here with our ADHD like,
yeah, I know.
How do you not get distracted by like 20 other projects at the same time?
I'm sorry, I got distracted by a new YouTube video. I can't possibly. And that's not counting job or family or any of the other million things you got to look at.
Amazing.
Oh, incredible.
I'll make myself. I'll be a Dwaro Dan. My hair's not long enough now.
Nice.
Nice.
I've always wondered, what do they do about ingrown hairs?
Oh God. Yeah, like is it taboo?
Is
to,
it
like,
a thing?
pluck them?
Is it a thing? I don't know. They've probably got like the world's most amazing cream or something. Who knows?
Yeah, always. all these things that like stop ingrown hairs or something. I suppose if they would have shave, they probably don't have ingrown hairs as much.
But people with beards get them.
Oh.
Like Mr. Dets has a beard and he gets them now and again. And you just got to keep the area clean. I got to just wait for it to go, I suppose. But
Are you excited?
It feels like that would be like, that would be like a species specific plague or something.
Yeah. How excited are you about the new Silmarillion Amazon thing?
On and off. I have either been yes or
yeah,
and there's no in between. It's every now and again a bit of news comes out and I go, that's great, and then I lose that particular fire and it doesn't stick with me and I go, that's fizzled out.
Yeah, I'm just so worried about them ruining, especially dwarves. They always bugger up dwarves.
Well, they always bugger up dwarves. Especially
not having dwargadams with no beards.
Oh, that you coward! You coward!
Literally, they're like, oh, it won't be attractive.
Yes, I'm sorry. You're meant to be attractive to other dwarves.
Literally. I mean, even in the Hobbit films, I don't think the dwargadams had enough beards. They had like little,
I know they've got cute little sideburns, and although there's that one lady who has some pretty impressive like eyebrow action going on. That was awesome.
Yeah. No, I don't really know anything about the Silmarillion either. I've never read anything about it, so I'm like, I'm gonna watch it and have no idea what's going on, or maybe it'll make me understand what goes on in the
Elves make a mess for 200 pages. Yeah, it's
yeah, I was like, I think I once found like a Silmarillion reader's guide and I was like, oh, I'm gonna read this and then maybe I'll understand, but then I've never got round to it.
It is not an easy read, but I did enjoy it. There's parts of it I really, 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 really like. Characters in it I really, 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 really like. Others I would really like to smack.
Yeah, I mean, I've never managed to get all the way through Lord of the Rings even. Spent so much time looking at trees.
Well, that's Tolkien who's going, and a battle happened, but look at this grove. And
I mean, to be fair, I've not tried for like 10 years probably. I've got them like sitting on my shelves. I read The Hobbit, and then the last time I tried, I got nearly all the way through Fellowship, and I realised I had no idea what was happening, because this was before.
You need to read Two Towers.
I think at that point I'd probably watched the films once, so I didn't understand anything that was going on. I was like, I don't know who anyone is. Who is this character? What's happening? It took me like 3 times of watching the Lord of the Rings films to know who Gimli was. I was like, it's the short one. This was before I was like really into it. I was like, I don't know who he is. Who is he?
That's awesome. No, the red short one, not the short ones with the furry feet.
With the hairy feet. It's the one with the big beard.
It's the one with the hairy face. That's brilliant.
But I don't know if you find this, but I've found that reading fan fiction about dwarves has kind of ruined some stuff in the Lord of the Rings films for me. When they're running after the Uruk-hai have taken Merry and Pippin.
I know what you're about to say.
About we're wasted on long distance. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would dwarves be natural sprinters?
That absolutely made me scratch my head, because in The Hobbit, and I'm about to go nerd on you, in The Hobbit, Dane's army runs for 3 days and nights with packs on their back and full armor. They're really damn good at long distance running.
Like, just look at them. They're clearly built for long distance. They're like endurance. Like, come on.
Exactly. It just made me go, excuse me, on this page, in this paragraph, as I do. Yes.
They needed oh my god, Richard Armitage being there, being like, actually, in the book.
Actually. Honestly, I'm pretty amazed that Christopher Lee didn't, because he was the massive Tolkien nerd on that.
Probably because he wasn't in the scenes, we didn't know.
Well, that's true. He would have said, no, I'm afraid that's not the case. And then been
Ian McKellen was pretty good at that as well, wasn't he? He read quite a lot of them.
Yes,
they were doing it. Right. Shall we ask you some of the questions?
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the question from me.
Oh.
So, did you ever expect the reception you got for it?
God, no, not in the slightest. Okay, so 2013. It was about when the second movie had come out, about-ish. I can't remember exactly, but at this time, the popularity of fics was for like really, really cutesy and schmoopy and adorable happy endings, and
everybody lives, nobody dies,
and soulmate fics, and getting together at Beyond's, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was all really, really positive because we all knew what was coming. And then there's me over here beating my drum. Everybody's dead. Everybody's dead. I'm thinking no one's going to mock me. Everybody's dead, and it all really sucks. So I don't know. It just it blew my mind that a few other people out there were going, yes, I want to be on the doom and gloom and angst for 15 chapters plus.
Yes, get me sobbing.
Yes. Get me sobbing. Which just completely, and you can see it, actually. You can kind of go back in time through my author notes and just look at a little time capsule of my feelings at the time. At about chapter 9 or 10, you can see me going, what?
Who are you all?
Where
did you come from?
I mean, thanks, but what?
Yeah.
And just completely gobsmacked, completely flabbergasted at the reception it got and is still getting, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're at 740,814 hits. You're so close to 10,000 comments as well. Well, I say so close, you're about 900 comments away, but still.
Oh, far out. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like that actually is a real thing. I
found it at 27 chapters, maybe. I think that's.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I saw the things for the auditions for Sansûkh, the podfic, before I actually read the fic, and then read the fic and then auditioned, I think. Yeah.
I've still got people who send me reviews saying I didn't read this until it was complete, and I kept skipping over it because I didn't want to read something that wasn't complete.
That's why I know it's complete at first. Yeah, because I was like, I hate reading works in progress usually, but I'm so glad that I did.
I've got a few authors I trust with a work in progress. Myself, not one of them, because I'm evil and I disappeared for years. But
8 years.
8 years. On my in my defense, it took Tolkien a lot longer.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if you think about it, like that's 570,000 words in 8 years is incredibly impressive. Like, some people will take 8 years to write a novel that's like 80,000 words.
80,000 words.
Like,
we were mentioning the ADHD thing.
Yeah.
And that's me on a pretty good week.
Yeah. That's like 4 chapters.
4 chapters. Yep, got that. But yeah, when it's not a good week, no.
Yeah. Exactly. Right, so Ivory Schmivory on Tumblr asked, the first 10 chapters set up the unfolding story so effectively. How clear an idea did you have on the outset how your characters would develop as the story grew? And then in brackets said, I'm especially interested in Thorin and Gimli's relationship and the fabulous OCs. Freyra, I love Freyra.
I love Freyra too.
Love Freyra.
Who doesn't love Freyra? Yeah, gosh, I'm so fond of her. Thank you, Ivory Schmivory. Waves furiously. When I set out to write the fic, I didn't have like exactly an overarching plot structure. I know a lot of people write out big notes on the structure of a story that they want to tell, and they know exactly when they're going to hit this beat and that beat and this beat and that beat. I am a bit looser about that, because I can't always follow up one beat. I might not feel like I want to write it. For example, I sit there going, yes, that'll be great. And then when I get to that moment, I go, I don't want to.
Yeah.
And so I have instead overarching themes. And those themes are what kind of guide me. And if I come to a point where I go, oh, that's a really good moment and I'm really going to hammer in this theme now, that's when I go hard at it. Now, for this story, I had quite a few, as you can see, and I follow them all as they wind about for this reason, because I'm not following beats in the plot. Most of the time, I'm following the history that Tolkien set out. So I've got the pages of Durin's folk and the timelines in the back in the appendices open constantly so that I can kind of see what's coming up. And when it comes to things like, Thorin's descent into depression and then his movements through anxiety and coming out into recovery and management, that was a huge beat. And you'll see it wind in and out and in and out and in and out. And his relationship with Gimli is part of that. It's not the only part of that. I would say the biggest part of that is his relationship with Frerin. But the relationship with Gimli is almost like he is the foil to Thorin's mental state. So I had this idea of Gimli being a linchpin, a steady place, a safe spot for Thorin. And I just kept on making it happen. And every now and again...
So I was going to say, he's where he sets his initial beginnings of his healing, isn't he? He's like...
He is. He
focuses that on Gimli at the beginning,
He goes, hang on, we haven't lost all of our kids. Here's one, and he's pretty good. Also, he's a bit of an idiot, so I better keep an eye on him. And it turns into the fact when Gimli, by the point that Thorin's worked through so much of his trauma that he can actually start moving past it to help others with theirs, like when he starts helping Frerin and he helps Dane and he does all of this, and he even helps, and this is where I'm like, I'm so proud of you, baby, he helps Bilbo. By that point, Gimli is coming to the nadir of his emotional journey. And who is the one who pushes him over that line? It's Thorin. It's nobody else, because Thorin's borrowed so much strength and peace and stability from Gimli that he now has his own internal stability to go, for God's sake, boy, just get over there and talk to him. And other things, when I came to the OCs, I had quite a few of them planned. I knew who they were. I could write blurbs about them and did, but others just rocked up and surprised me. And someone mentioned like Faramir walking through the woods of Ithilien and Tolkien saying, oh, there's all of a sudden there's this ranger. And I feel that because I have a few who did that.
They just suddenly appear and you're like, who are you?
Like, who are you? I like you. I'm using you again. And one of them became, oh God, so many people's faves. And one of them was Jerry.
I was going to say, was Jerry one of them?
Was Jerry.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, so a tunnel's collapsed and there's a kid lost, and all of a sudden there's this Jerry, child of Barry with a green beard. And I'm going, I freaking love you. I'm going to use you again. And all of a sudden I use them again, and people are going, I love them. And I'm going, yeah, me too. I'm going to use them again. And so I used them again. It just kept going. So, so I just kind of folded them into the narrative. And Bomfrus, my aggressive sausage, I adore her. I didn't have her journey totally planned out. I knew who she was, but the original idea was that she would become queen. And then when I got to the point, I went, there is nothing about this girl that says I want to be queen. In fact, everything about her says, I'm giving you a very rude hand signal and shove it up your bum. So
which fits with the rest of the drawing line, really. None of them.
It really does.
You think of it, Dane's fuck you.
I love Dane. I did have some ideas too, again, weaving through themes when it comes to Dane and his canon, his Tolkien written journey, and how freaking tragic that is. I wanted to go a little bit further with him being able to prepare the people around him. So he has about 2 to 3 conversations trying to get the people around him ready for what he knows he's got to do. And that way, when we get to the Iron Hills, for me, it's a case of us going, oh, I know what's happening. I know what's coming. The audience knows, Yeah. I've prepped not only the characters in the story, but the audience is going, oh God, here we go. And then it happens.
And spoilers, because we probably shouldn't be talking about this. But
that's chapter 30 something. Right?
Yeah, but it's so funny because you're like, oh no, this is terrible. It's actually, no, we're going to see more of him once that happens.
Well, I think it's chapter 2, we see Dane talking to the Crown. And he's basically telling his memory of Thorin, you asshole, you've left me in this goddamn cold mountain and you've left me with a mess. And I would totally punch you in the face if you were standing here in front of me. And I wish you were standing here in front of me because I miss your stupid face. Yeah. So it's the biggest parts of who Dane is introduced in that very, very first conversation with a Crown.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't even think of it that way at the time. I just went, okay, I've got an idea of who this character is and who I want them to be. And he's homesick, but he deals with what's in front of him and he's practical. And so I dealt with that. And all of a sudden that became his defining traits as a person.
Well, I mean, if you think the whole of, as you said, Dane's story is so sad, but his whole story starts off from when he was an incredibly young lad as this reluctant ruler.
I know.
He's 30-something or something ridiculously.
Insanely young, 32, I think.
Yeah,
I can't
his
remember
parents
exactly.
die and he's got his grandfather, but...
Yeah, but he's not all the way there. And, So, enjoy yourself. You're now a lord. What a mess. Yeah. And what else goes on in the first 10 chapters that was a big recurring theme? Chapter 8, I would like to apologize to the universe. Moria. So I did a lot of experimenting with style in that, with trying to make it scary and anxiety provoking, and to try and build an atmosphere to the point where it never felt like it quite broke until we arrive in Erebor with Gimli and the baby Gimij. And I had no idea Gimij would be who Gimij became, by the way, when he was a baby. I was like, oh, baby.
Yeah.
And then it turned into Camouche, who is and forever will be my mayhem child, and I adore his face. But didn't know, was experimenting with style. And when it came to things like all the deaths, like Balin's death, Oin's death, Ori's death, especially, I always felt this visceral horror at the way Oin went.
Oh,
and
God.
I wanted to make that happen. I wanted to make people go, holy crap. Yeah. I really, really wanted that to come across and people to feel the spookiness and the goriness and the horribleness of being eaten by that thing.
Yeah, is that noise he makes?
The
way you describe,
and it sticks.
Yeah,
it sticks with Thorin. The noise, he can't get rid of it. And
and then when Oin arrives in the halls and gets hugged by Groin, and he makes a similar noise,
and he makes a sound when he's hugged, and Thorin's like, oh god, no. There were a few other things that turned into stuff I didn't think would get as big as it did, like Keely and his silence over Tauriel and bothering Mahal, like, hi, it's me again. So about that comment. So that turned into I just really enjoyed the humor of that, and both the fact that it's Keely and he can hide it with being a goofy little grin pot.
Yeah.
But also just, the idea of pestering God. He hasn't wanted to do that. That sounds great fun.
And 100% in character for Keely.
It would be. And another thing too, the fact that we know, I think, God, so early on that Bilbo had feelings for Thorin, but he won't speak about them. So not only Keely's silence, but Bilbo's. And the fact that we see Bilbo beginning to shut down and turn to secrecy and paranoia in that first 10 chapters.
Yeah.
That became a bigger deal than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And but it made sense to me as I kept going, because I went, okay, no, Bilbo as young is a very different person to Bilbo old. He is so paranoid. He is so suspicious. He hates unwelcome visitors. He hates people snooping, and he's starting to turn inwards and look at the world with jealous eyes over the ring. And so it's a very, very different character. So as I kept going, it made more and more sense to me that I would lean harder into that, which would make Thorin's vigil over Bilbo in particular more offensive to him.
Yeah, because I mean, you see that Bilbo doesn't even trust Frodo with clearly a lot of his life until he writes Lord of the Rings and Frodo reads it. Like,
exactly.
You see that Frodo has been told the fun stuff, like the trolls and all of that stuff, but nothing else about fun.
His first version of his own adventure, he lied. He lied about where he got it. So he was trying to bolster his own claim, I guess. But there was one more thing that turned into just the best moment for me anyway, writing and just going, make that happen. The fact that when Bilbo finally does relinquish the ring and leaves Hobbiton after the long-awaited party, Gandalf can see Thorin.
Yes. That was such a good reveal. I remember reading that and being like, wow!
And I just went, I'll make that happen. And then later on, it became so much fun because we've got two confrontations between Thorin and Saruman. And Radagast being Radagast, and so much Gandalf.
Gandalf so much like, I haven't got time for you now, Thorin.
I haven't got. I said, shut up, or dead wolves can please shut up. And Gimli with like side eyes going, wait, you can hear them too.
I'm not going crazy.
I'm not. So yes, it became a big thing that I just had the most fun with, and wasn't actually planned from the beginning at all. There are a few things that popped up in the first few chapters too that I didn't follow. I decided very firmly that I wasn't going to. That I went, no. I could have followed what happened in Mirkwood with the Elven King and his changes of mood, because we see him in the first 10 chapters when Stonehelm goes to visit him.
Yeah.
And we get a look at what the Elven King has become over 80 years of total isolation. And it's not great, but it's not all terrible either. And I could have followed him much more closely. And I very much decided, no, this is a dwarf-focused fic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go.
There's enough ones about Thranduil.
There's so many about Thranduil. You're very pretty, darling, but no, it's not about you.
We all like the dark eyebrows and the blonde hair. It all looks great.
It is a fierce look.
It is.
But, yeah, no, it's about little hairy guys this time.
Ivory Schmeiber also asked, what were your goals/hopes setting out?
Goals/hopes.
Did you have any?
Write a story, get to the end.
Don't
go crazy in the writing of it. Because I knew when I set out, by like chapter 3 or so, following Tolkien's timelines, that the research on this was going to get big. I knew by that point, oh dear, I'm in for it. And
you're like, this isn't only going to be 10 chapters long.
Yeah, well, the first chapter is like 4,000 words or whatever. And I went, yeah, that's a decent length for a chapter. Okay, post. Good, done. Next one, getting a little longer now. And look at all of those research notes. And third one, oh God, we're getting a bit longer now. Look at all those research notes and it's even longer. Yes. So by about chapter 8, it was a case of hold on to your chair, don't go mad, try not to go cross-eyed while you're looking at all these reference books, keep a decent list of bookmarks on all the websites you go to research on, and good luck.
Yeah. God, yes.
Oh, yeah, I had so many reference documents. And then halfway through, of course, the Dwaro scholar decided to change everything. And I went, oh, well, thank heavens I've saved the old dictionaries. But
like, actually now completely different things mean these things.
It's totally different now.
I don't think I know the new one. I think I avoided looking at the new one because I liked the old one so much.
The new one. Oh, closed my eyes and stuck my fingers in my ears and la 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 la.
Yeah. You're like, no, don't need to know this now.
Don't need to know about that. But yeah, no, God, that's so Australian. But yeah, nah. By the way, for the linguists out there, means no.
And no, yeah, means yeah.
Yeah, nah. I wanted to get to the end, wherever the end presented itself.
Major spoilers for the ending of Sansûkh coming up now. Please skip forward 50 seconds if you'd like to miss it.
Which I hadn't, when I started the story, decided it was going to end with Gimli's death. I had thought, I'll finish with them sailing off, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I kind of, had the big hiatus, planned out the last 3 chapters, threw a couple of my old plans in the bin, going, yeah, no, not doing that now. And I don't have the energy or the wherewithal, or I want to stick with the characters that really give me the zing. And so it ended up being a nice little dovetail that we start with Thorin's death and we end with Gimli's. My 2 main
main men.
Yeah. my main boys.
Yeah. Right. So Marauder's Love on TikTok asked,
when you started writing the fic, did you think it would end up being such a mammoth undertaking? Oh, you kind of answered this, that would take 8 years.
Yeah. Didn't think it'd take 8 years. Didn't think I'd have 2 children in the writing of it, or a massive post, like 3 years plus hiatus, or oh man, no, didn't. Really didn't. Honestly, I thought I'd get it done in about 120k. Yeah, I'm laughing. I'm laughing at
50.
I'm laughing at past me too.
Yeah.
You idiot.
I mean,
how many past me?
So considering I want to work this out now. So considering a standard book is what, it's between like 40 and 80k. So if you take it as 60k, you wrote 9.5 books.
Oh dear.
Quite impressive. 9.5 books in 8 years.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Okay. Ice Angels on AO3 said, I recently found and read all of Sansûkh, and I noticed the first chapter was posted back in June of 2013 before even Desolation of Smaug came out.
Mm-hmm.
How did the release of the second 2 Hobbit movies influence the writing of the fic? / did you go back and change anything?
Good question. I didn't actually have to change a hell of a lot. There was a reference in the first chapter, I think, to him being in the tent, because he's in the tent when he dies in the book. And but not much else, because I hadn't covered that scene in any detail. It was a case of moving on from there. There were a couple of things I did need to plonk in later chapters to reference moments, I guess, that happened in the next 2 books. But luckily the films, although they went in some really wacky directions, they did, what? I'm still dirty about the freaking, the sandworms coming out. Anyway, what was that? I'll never not be dirty. Shai-Hulud, yes. I didn't have to add a lot. Like when we're talking about things like Balin and Oin and Dwalin all getting at Dane about giving the money to the Master of Lake Town, for instance, the films kind of did cover all of this.
Yeah.
That the Master of Lake Town was, Stephen Fry being very grasping. It was still a thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
Right. We've got a couple of questions left. So this is actually one that I've been wondering about for the longest time, because I find it really hard to imagine. So I'm glad this person asked this. So Magdalene L on YouTube asked, what is meant when Thorin said he longs for the colours of Middle-earth? Are the halls muted in colour? Or are they black and white?
Very, very good question. The idea behind the halls was that everything is kind of bound in a very slow stasis. It doesn't mean that things don't change. It just means that they change incredibly slowly. It also means too, I wouldn't believe that even dwarves in the halls of waiting would be lacking in color. I mean, my gosh, these are dwarves. They're like, look at this shiny rock. It's such a great color. I think rather that the halls of waiting being bound in this darkness and stasis and this unending feeling of progressing slowly through time would almost be like moving through molasses. And then you go through the pool and you're in life.
Everything's fast and busy kind of thing.
Everything moves. Change can occur. People's movements, people's actions create change. They change the people around them. They change the world. Whereas that doesn't happen in the halls.
Yeah.
Everyone is bound in waiting.
And no one ages, I suppose, either as well.
No one ages.
That's a whole thing.
Poor Frerin. Sorry, baby, I adore you. Ooh, I know. So that was the idea, that even though there will be color there and there is change, it's slow.
Yeah.
And that's why it takes Thorin nearly 80 years to start addressing his own trauma. That's why it takes all that time for Ori and Biffa, who only spent about 10, 12 years apart, to even think about getting together while they're in the halls. Oh, that was my cat arriving. Hello. Yes, he's decided he wants to be talking as well. Hello. So it's more a metaphor in Thorin's mind. To him, the halls are dark, they don't move, they're unchanging, grey, static. And then he can walk out into the world through the starlight and it's alive, it's full of colour, the wind has a scent. So that's the idea.
Very nice. All right, got 2 last questions. So Nemus Lived on TikTok asked 2 questions. 1, did you ever cry writing any of the sad scenes?
Did I? I think I did, actually. There was 2 moments where I remember having a bit of a no, 3. Gosh, this is me reaching the very back of my skull and giving a rummage, going, can you remember back that far? Does your brain reach back that far? The first, I think, that made me go, oh, was the confrontation between very young Gimli and Dis.
Yeah.
And is this pity for an old woman? You can keep it. Just her fury that he might be doing this out of some sort of misplaced sense of condescension or
duty or something.
Exactly. She wants nothing of it. And they are almost talking about the same thing, but at completely cross purposes. And you can... I had tears of nearly frustration when I wrote out Gimli's speech of no one understands why I fight like I want to hurt myself. No one understands why I throw myself into my work. I miss them. And I can't say it because they miss their king, they miss their princes, but I miss my family.
Yeah.
And that I nearly had tears of frustration in my eyes because I think we've all felt something similar when we miss someone.
Yeah.
We go, no, I miss my connection to them. Your connection was your connection. That's great. But I miss my connection to them. And when we find someone whose connection is the same or similar, when you're not pulling on the same rope, as it were, in that conversation, it can almost turn into, well, the kind of confrontation they had. But thankfully, Dis finally realizes that.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God.
Oh, right. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the first 10 chapters, I don't think another of those scenes happens. They happen much further on in the story. So spoilers.
Yeah.
The second one was again Gimli's speech to Thorin this time, about saying, of course I love him. Of course I know. His every movement to me is, a marvel. Of course I know. And just the pig-headed, stubborn nobility that he shows in that. I was sitting there going, you're such a good boy. Someone needs to hear you. You're such a good boy. You're trying to be so thoughtful and someone really needs to hear you. And the third one was, of course, Dane's death. Because that got me going. Me and Not a Nightlight kind of pulled together and made that tune. Notta wrote the tune for the verses, dun, da, 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 and I wrote the tune for the chorus. Da, 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 da. So I had this in my head already. And as I'm writing this poem and going, yep, that's pretty good. I like that. And then I went, okay, no, let's turn it into let's all head out and die, boys song. And I did. And
gets me every time I read it. Oh, odd.
And so I'm sitting there going, yes, this is this is a really good, let's go get ourselves killed boys song. I love this. And then I had a big sniffle when Dane did his final SEO, when I closed my eyes and these finishes were the Iron Hills for me.
Yeah.
That made me go, yeah, let's finish the chapter here and people can throw things at me.
Oh God. It's Deese's reaction when they like first start singing and she's like, no, you asshole. Don't do this to me.
She knows he's been preparing her. She knows exactly what's about to happen. Yeah. And she's denied it the whole time. She's going, no, you're coming back, you're coming back, you're coming back. And he goes, I'm really not. Yeah, I know.
I think the first scene that gets me crying when I read it is Deese again. It's Thorin watching her the first time with Brerin and trying to get through to her, and it's like, oh
yeah.
And it's like she did this after Azanul Bazaar as well.
Like, yeah.
No,
I couldn't reach her. No one could. She held a strong face, but wept in the silence of her rooms. Yes. Oh my God! Look at remembering those words. Oh wow! Yeah. Ooh. Man, scraping the back of my brain is working.
Yeah. Right. Last question.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's on for me too. So, who is my favourite OC in the first 10 chapters, and who is your favourite OC in the first 10 chapters?
Oh, you're gonna make me choose which is my favourite baby. How dare! All right, okay, Battle Pig, who's yours?
I can't remember who doesn't show up in the first. I don't want to say one that shows up in later chapters. It's got to be between Freese and Herrera, I think.
Oh, yum. Yep.
They're just. I think it's got to be Freese. She's just so soft and lovely, and her with Brerin is just. I love her. Yeah.
Oh man, she's so damn strong. I kept on making these dwarves of iron.
You did.
I did. But oh dang. Freese is kind of proof that you can be the strongest person in the room and not know how to use a sword.
Yes. Though Gimri's is obviously amazing as well.
Well, I was about to say I have real trouble moving past Gimri's. Her first scene with Gimli is, I still think, one of the most perfect scenes I've ever written. Her first scene, I'm sitting there going, yes, go me. You did good past me.
Feely and Keely's reactions are like, oh my God. Thorin's just like, you're both dead.
So pretty. You're both dead. That's uncalled for. Oh, I got cats jumping all over this room. My gosh. My favorites. Does Loney count? Is what I want to know, because he's actually a canon character. Loney and Fra and Nali are all canon characters,
named, aren't they?
Yeah, as dwarves who went to Moria.
I suppose all we know about them is they go to Moria.
That's
so
all
the
we
actual
know. They died
of
in
them
Moria.
Is yours, so you could call it. You see,
I kind of love my long-suffering best friend.
Loney is great.
I love Loney. Out of the characters in the first 10 chapters, Gimri's, Herrera, Loney,
Mizim, she's great.
Oh hell yeah, Mizim. If it sits still long enough, she will mother it.
And of course, you've got all of. Does Bomber's family all shows up in?
They all show up.
First?
They all do, and so you have, and I know I can feel Erina's eyes over the back of my head going, "You haven't said her yet." Barrys, yes, and Bonfries, of course,
and Aurys.
And Barris Stonebelly. They just, I love them all. I love all of them. And Gimish turns up in the first 10 chapters.
He does.
Except he's only a baby who hates baths. So that's all he is in the first 10 chapters. He's a baby who hates baths. But there he is. There he is. And I will love him forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And also, I believe in the first 10 chapters is also the entry of Wee Soren.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in there too. So, and oh, you did not. So,
and of course, Orla.
Holy crap.
There's too many, basically, introducing the first 10 chapters.
And I honestly have real trouble because I love them all really so very much. They feel just as real as any of the canon characters do to me.
Yes.
And people have asked me about that before, actually. They've said to me, how can you get your OCs feeling so integral to the story and meshed in and stuff like that? And I go, because I didn't treat them like they were secondary to the canon characters.
I think they fill gaps that were there that needed to be filled, especially all of the Dwarrodans.
Super did. As much as we love this world, we know Tolkien left big spaces. So why not fill them full of ladies with beards?
Yes.
Is what I say. That sounded a little bit too pronouncement-y.
That should be your tagline.
The world must be filled with ladies with beards.
So I'm going to write this down. That's what I'm going to call this episode.
Ladies with beards. Oh dear, I have basically giggled through this whole thing, but I hope it's I hope it's usable.
Yeah, they definitely will be. That's all the questions.
Rock and roll.
Exciting.
It is.
It's already
10:30.
Yeah, it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm sure there's lots of rambling I can cut out.
I did a lot of rambling. I did.
So did I
reckon a good 20% of that is me saying Sorry about that.
Yeah. No. Have a good filler word.
Filler word.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to get the next 10 chapters recorded soon as well. Get reading on those.
All right.
Exciting. We'll get to move on to the next very nicely done book by Fishy.
So pretty. So pretty.
I love them. I love it. I don't usually like hardbacks, but they're such nice hardbacks.
They are.
Oh.
They are. They were sitting in a row.
Yes.
On the shelf. And I just, every now and again, I look at them and I go, so pretty.
I can see them from here and I'm like, so lovely.
So pretty. So shiny. And also looking at them down the row, I go, skinny, 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 fat, 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 fat.
Yeah. The last one's like 3 times the size of the first one.
It's honking. It's so big.
And they've all got 10 chapters, so you know it's just the length of the chapters in.
It's like, there is a 20k chapter in there somewhere, and I can't remember which one it is. I think it's 41 or 42. I don't know. I'm sorry.
God, I think I've got like 5 chapters to read that I've not read. The last 5, maybe.
Oh, dude,
it got to the point of where I was like, I want to wait till it's finished so I can read them all in one.
Dude. So you still haven't read the last 5 chapters?
No. So when I read them on video, that'll be my first reactions to them. So there will probably be lots of sobbing. I'm assuming.
Okay. I'll be like tissues through the screen.
Yeah.
There's good happy too. Good happy. Big good happy. I'm still really pleased with the way like chapter 49. I was like, I have planned that for so damn long. and now I did it. Good. It's done. Anyway.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that Q&A with Dets. We certainly had a really great time recording it. The next episode up will be chapter 11. Put any questions you've got for the next Q&A with Dets in the comments on YouTube. Send them to me on Tumblr or AO3 or TikTok, anywhere.